Hello and welcome. It's Lucy here from Inclusive Change at Work, our community interest company that talks about building the future of work with neurodiversity in mind. But the topic we've been talking about for a while now is digital well-being for young people. We've had our Castle conference, which was in April in Bristol, and it was fantastic. And continuing on the chats that we had before the conference, I'm today joined by one of our fantastic exhibitors at the event, Vicky Henderson. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. You are actually the first person that I've interviewed and had a chat with post-conference.
Good stuff. No, it was great.
It was a fantastic day, and I'm going to ask you all about that later, so hold on to that one.
Okay.
Um, Let's get into a bit of background and a bit of info on you. So, can you tell me a bit about you and your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with the me bit because the organisation stemmed from the me bit. So I was in my early 40s and I was living in chronic pain with fibromyalgia and something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And I tried a bit of counselling and various different things and nothing had worked. So I bizarrely joined a network marketing company because they had amazing products for fibromyalgia and that sort of thing. And I discovered personal development, and it was like a revelation in my early 40s. I was like, wow, what is this whole world out here that I've been missing? And I was suddenly surrounded by all these really positive, vibrant people. And I was like, yeah, I'm loving this, because every time when I'm not with these people, life is rubbish. And they brought a coach in to talk to us, and I was just transfixed by this. So I went off, I invested what at the time felt a huge amount of money to a 3-day transformation course. I walked in with 23,000 kilos of excess emotional baggage. And I walked out 3 days later, a transformed woman with a small clutch bag under my arm. And then I
Wow.
realized that my boss was never going to change. So I was like, I've got to get out of this company because it's killing me. So I decided to quit and retrain as a coach. So the
Wow.
guy that had taken me through the transformation was training coaches, and I went, yeah. So I resigned from my job. I had some money in the bank. I had no business or anything. And I retrained in NLP and timeline therapy, the coaching branch of that.
Yeah.
And the rest, they say, is history.
I love
Um,
this.
So that's how I got into it. But how has it evolved to where it is today? That's a really interesting one. So in 2019, I started mentoring through the Career Ready scheme at Cirencester College, which was my local college. And I met an amazing young woman who I worked with for a year voluntarily. She's just about to graduate with a master's in psychology from Portsmouth, because I keep in touch with her. And she nominated me for an award at the end of the year we worked together, and I won it. So I was awarded Mentor of the Year out of 3,000 mentors in the UK. And I then went on to win another award for my work that I was doing pro bono during the early part of the pandemic. I just said to anybody, I'm sitting here at home with no business. Here's my phone number. I put it all over the internet. Here's my Zoom. Come and talk to me. And they did. It was amazing. And then at the end of that summer, my friend phoned me up and she went, my son needs you. You're winning all these awards. You're doing this work voluntarily and you don't charge for working with young people. He needs you. So overnight, Coaching for Young People was born under a different name. And then within 24 hours, I had girls' parents wanting to work with me. I was originally just going to do boys.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 48 hours later, a school phoned me up and went, can you write a program for us? And yeah, that's where it's been. And in January of this year, I pushed all the business coaching to one side, and I now just focus on the young people 100%.
I love this. I love this. We were so pleased to find you and to be able to get you at the conference, and now to call you one of our team, one of our
I know,
friends.
how
You're
exciting.
part of our world now, and one of our network. And that story is just fantastic. So tell me a bit more about coaching for young people. What might that entail?
It's really varied, and I love that it's so varied. So at the moment, and it is starting to grow bigger than this, but I'll focus on where we are at the moment. At the moment, it's all one-to-one coaching.
Yeah.
So parents come to me in various states of distress because they've kind of exhausted CAMS and what the school can do to help and all of that. And they're just like, I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
And they come to me for all sorts of different reasons. So on the girls' side, self-harm, suicidal thought, undiagnosed autism, mid-diagnosis autism, struggling with a diagnosis of autism, extreme anxiety,
Hmm.
school avoidance, all sorts of different things. Interestingly, the boys' side of it's quite different. So a lot of the boys are struggling with motivation. They don't see the point in what they're doing. A lot of that is actually related to anxiety, but they wouldn't call it anxiety.
No.
So it's a real difference. Sometimes I've got students who are, who have dropped out because they're struggling so much, and it's about, can we
Yeah.
get them back in again? It's a real variety, and that's what I find interesting, of young people coming to me with their different challenges and working out how we can get through that.
Yeah. And the boys in particular, I think boys are really struggling at the moment
Yeah,
because there's a lot of peer pressure there, there's a lot of online toxicity, let's say. I don't even know if I can say that word properly. And boys are struggling with that. Being a man, toughening up, man up, all those kind of things when they're actually struggling. And then they're being told, show your emotions. It's really difficult for
it
boys.
is. Yeah. And they show their emotions very differently to us. And a lot of the things I have is mums coming to me going, I don't know what to do with my boy. And I'm like, okay, so you're a woman, your emotions go from your head to your mouth. That's
Right.
what we do as women, generally speaking. Not everyone, but the majority. A boy, his emotions go from his head to his body. So talking
Yeah.
to him is a waste of time. Give him a boxing bag, get him out running, get him out doing something to get that emotion out of his body, and then sit down and talk to him. Because
That
if he's
sounds
a
like my
ball of
son.
pent up emotion, you're not going
Yeah.
to get any sense out of him. You've got to get him find a way of doing it, which is probably why I coach less boys. And those that I do coach are on the more chatty side, but I do suggest to them that they go out and do other things as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think sport, not necessarily just sport, but activity
Yeah.
and that unlocking and opening up the physical aspect of anxiety and managing anxiety is something that we don't talk enough about.
Mm.
And yeah, there's a heck of a lot more I could talk to you about that,
Oh,
Vicky,
yes,
at
we
some
could be
point.
here forever.
Oh my goodness. That has sparked so many thoughts in my head. But let's get to my next question. So you were one of our exhibitors at the Castle Conference. Tell us a bit about the day. What did you get out of that day?
So the first thing I'm going to say to you is it's possibly the best conference I've ever been to in the way you
Thank you.
structured the day.
Thank you.
Because as an exhibitor, what I found at previous conferences is you don't get to go and listen to all the talks because they're going on at the same time as everything
Yeah.
else. So firstly, the thing I loved was that I had my little stand, I could talk to people, which was great. But then when you had your amazing speakers on, I could then sit in and listen, and everybody else was in there as well. So I learned such a huge amount from the day. I think one of the key things I took away from it was around are our young people being damaged by what's going on social media, which is causing the mental health crisis, or
Yeah.
is the mental health crisis an external thing and they're burying themselves in social media to escape from the real world? I found that really fascinating.
Yeah.
Um,
And it could be either or. It depends on that individual circumstance.
Absolutely. And it's now a question I've started asking my young people because I want to find
Amazing.
out. But yeah, it was just so fascinating the way you bookended it by two really emotional talks. In the middle, you had those phenomenally qualified, knowledgeable
Expert.
individuals, and I'm scribbling notes away sitting there. So yeah, no, it's great. And then, coming out and then actually getting to chat to people. And I think I've made some really great connections that will hopefully bear fruit further down the line. Obviously, it's early days
Yeah.
yet.
It's time.
But yeah, it was just amazing to actually, it was the first time I'd been out as coaching for young people. My banners were made for the event,
Ta-da!
which was very exciting for me as well, because actually going out there with that hat on officially and talking about it kind of put me out in the world, so to speak.
I'm really, really pleased that you got in touch, and really, honestly, it was great to have you there. And thank you for all those comments. And intentionally, we did set the conference up in that way to achieve that result that you've just talked about, feeling part of the community, feeling part of something in a movement. And just from feedback we've had from others, when people were leaving, they're like, "How can you be so positive about such a hard topic?" Because we really did talk about some really hard stuff on that day, didn't
Oh
we?
yeah, absolutely, full on.
Yeah. And we started with, we talk about my story and my family story, and that brings in suicide right at the beginning. And we ended the day on a talk from a suicide prevention charity from David Brown, which, boy, did that take you through every emotion possible in that
Oh
talk from
yeah,
him.
absolutely. He is the most of, I mean, you're both amazing speakers, but yeah, that the finish at the end there. And I talk to young people about it, and parents are like, "Oh, don't mention the word." And I'm like, we have to talk about this.
Yeah.
We have to get it out there. You know, almost every young person I work with, if they start saying things, "Oh, I just want to end it all," or whatever, my first question is, are you
You
feeling
see. Yeah.
suicidal? Have you considered it? Have you planned anything? Because we need to nip that in the bud. And I think the more we can talk about it, particularly with young men, it can only be a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. But thank you. I mean, like I say, I'm blown away by the comments. I'm blown away by your feedback, and just incredible. We've got a catch up coming up on the 14th of May. So we have book space with a webinar on the 14th of May. People can sign up to that on icaw-cic.com. You can sign up to it. All you need is your name and an email address. We'll send you then the details to log on the day for the Zoom. And if you can't make it on the day at 12 o'clock on the 14th of May, you can watch it again. So if you're listening to this, there will be a space online at icaw-cic.com where you can put your details in and get access to the catch up, which will be an opportunity for us to talk about this again. So to talk about what happened at the event and what next, because that's one of the things that always sticks in my mind. We had this fantastic conference, but what do we do next, and what do we want to
Yeah.
see happen next? What do you think about that? What would you like to do next?
It's an interesting one because I kind of been processing it in my head. I think one of the big things for me is getting out and talking to more young people about this, and finding a way as a community and for organisations. I know a lot of the
Yeah,
organisations had come down a very long way from the northeast, but there
yeah,
were a huge number from our area as well. And it's about finding a way to spark that conversation in the wider community. And, you know, can we get out and talk to groups of parents somewhere? Can we get into schools and start
yeah,
to deliver talks around all of that? And just kind of spread the word. It actually triggered me. I mean, I knew I was going to do it anyway, but my newsletter was based on digital emotional intelligence. After I had a few sign-ups for that, and I included a blog post and a digital audit for young people. So I kind
oh,
of
brilliant.
triggered what, that was kind of my follow-up from it, was to actually go and write some stuff down.
It
So
has been a lot to
yeah, it's about,
process, hasn't it?
it's also been massively in the news because obviously yesterday there was the big announcement around the
Oh,
law and the fact they don't feel it's going far enough, and they were all on television. The parents obviously had
yeah.
lost their youngsters. So it's very topical at the moment. But I think one of the big things is, yeah, we can talk about it till the cows come home, but we need to get out there and give parents some solutions, give them
Yes.
a way of saying, okay, how can I get a grip of this? How can I understand it better?
And that was some of the feedback, I think, from the conference, which was, we want some solutions. How do we do this? And we knew we couldn't address that during a day. In fact, like, 5 hours in a room together. But we're now talking to people like yourself and others to start thinking about actually what could we do. And I've just recently, I'm going to be doing a talk next week around meeting people at their bus stop and sustainable change and behavior change. And it is one of those things
Yeah.
that we, change starts small with passionate people. who come together and then create massive things. And I think that's something that we can do in the Southwest, but also up in the Northeast and pretty much all over the country. So yeah, we've got connections in with those people you were just talking about that movement and the things that are happening. We're being invited to those conversations in different ways. So we're looking forward to being part of that for the future.
Yeah, no, it's good to start the ball rolling.
Yes. Yeah. We have to start somewhere. We have to start
Yeah,
with a seed. We have to
absolutely.
start, and then we will come together. And by Christmas, people will be going, "Oh, right. Yeah, we really are talking about this stuff, aren't we? We're really making a change. Let's have a bit of a summer, though. Let's enjoy our summer." So I feel like it's nice and warm outside today, and I just feel quite positive about things at the moment. Right. I'm going to ask you another question. So, what are you hearing from parents and young people, and maybe even schools? Is it all that bad? What are the themes that you're hearing and conversations you're talking about?
It's interesting. It's very mixed. So one young man I'm working with at the moment for the second time. So I worked with him last year and then a whole load of stuff's happened. So he said, Dad, can I talk to Vicky again? And I was talking to him about social media and he says, I use it to talk for my friends. He said, but I don't see the point in scrolling and that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
that's quite an interesting one in that he's really struggling with life, but social media doesn't really take part in his life at all. And has admitted that he does a bit of mindless scrolling, but it's to escape from what's going on
And
elsewhere.
that isn't such a bad thing.
No, absolutely. It's a difficult one. Parents are worried about it. Most of the
Mhm.
parents I talk to say that screen time is a problem. And I kind of have to have that conversation around with them that it might be, a symptom of other things that are going
Mhm.
on.
Yeah.
So it's definitely spoken about. And I think in a lot of homes it has become a bit of a battle, which doesn't help either, because the minute it becomes a battle, the young person's like, well, I'm just going to dig my heels in and do exactly what you don't want me to do. So there's a
Mm.
way about having conversations there. From the youngsters that I talk to, but the girls particularly, they're vile to each other online. The things that they say to each other that they would never be said to in face to face. And I think that's one of the biggest things that shocked me is that the language that's being used. So yes, it's definitely concerning for parents about what's going on out there. Another aspect of it that I come up against is where a young person's being bullied and the language being fired at them has clearly been gained from the other child's unrestricted or unmonitored access to the
That's it.
internet.
Yeah.
The words that are being used and the language are so abstract and upsetting for that age group. So there's all sorts of aspects to it. I think the big thing to say to parents, obviously I know that Owen gave up her phone
Mhm.
and I think your son's just asked to do the same.
He's done
I
the
think
same, and I'm like,
yeah,
What's going on?" Yeah.
I think the big thing to parents that are listening to this is you can have conversations and you can work with your young person to be more emotionally intelligent about their
Mhm.
use of it's not about giving it up, it's not about
No.
saying no, there's none of this, because they can't survive in the world today without it, because if they want to go on and do business and stuff, they've got to
No.
be able to use it in a sensible way, the internet and social media. So it's more about having conversations with your young people and with the parents who maybe don't know where to start about how can we approach this, how can we start to think about it. And that was basically the thrust between the blog that I wrote. It's about giving parents conversation starting points and suggestions of where they can start talking about various different things to do with social media and the internet, so they can actually have a backwards and forwards communication with their young people and help them work out, actually,
What do you
that
want
doesn't
to do?
really make me feel very good, so I should not be doing it. Whereas actually gaming with my friends on Fortnite, and this might sound really weird to a lot of parents, gaming with my friends on Fortnite lifts me up
Yeah.
because I'm with my friends, we're working
Yes.
together as a team. I can't go and see them face to face because because we can't just go out and play like we used to, or we don't live close together. And actually I know it's girls as well, but for a lot of young men, that's a real, real social buzz for them. And I
Yeah,
think it's about helping parents understand which bits are helping and which bits are hindering, and helping the young person understand from an emotional point of view, how do they feel after they've done gaming with their friends? How do they feel after they've done gaming on their own? How do they feel after they've done scrolling? And for each child, it's going to be different. And then it's working out,
absolutely.
okay, which bits do we need to get rid of? How do you make to manage it differently? And asking lots of coaching questions. So essentially, that's what I tried to put out into the world last week.
I think that's fantastic. And I think that is part of the solution, is having those conversations. But as parents, and I am that parent who is on her phone, who is on her iPad,
Yeah,
who is on her laptop. And my kids sometimes are like, Mum, like, just just stop. And they're the ones telling me, but imagine when they were younger and that's what they saw, and they role model and they see that and they think, oh well, mum's doing that, so that's what I'm
yeah.
going to do too. And I sleptwalk, I think, into that, those kind of behaviors, and seeing that coming out in my children.
I think there's a huge piece to be done around parental awareness of phone use, and having times in the day where you
Hmm.
have a box on the sideboard, and everybody puts their phone in the box, and we say, right, this is now screen free time. Because I know my niece and nephew sometimes complain, because of my brother-in-law's job. He has to be online a
Yep.
lot of the time because he's on call 24/7 essentially, and they get grumpy with it. And it's about explaining to them that actually, daddy's maybe dealing with a problem, although he's at work, although he's not at work, so to
Yeah.
speak. So it's about having more conversations about it, and it's about not getting into a battle. It's about being able to sit down and have a chat, and actually admit that, I'm a grown up, I struggle to use my phone. So you're going to find you've got to learn how to manage it better, and I probably need to come on this journey with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
And I
think
think a lot of parents, if you do it with them, it will have a far greater impact than if they're just
absolutely.
doing it on their own and you're doing something completely different.
Well, for
It's about
context,
modeling the behavior you want.
yeah, which I'm not that good at yet, but for context, my children, so they gave up their phones independently. I haven't asked them to do it. They've said, both said, I want to give up my phone now. And it it's it feels like it's because I pressured them or I've told them about all the things we talk about here. It's not. They've made that decision independently. And I'm wishing and hoping that more young people can make that decision themselves as well. And it's giving them a little bit of the grace and the understanding that they're mature enough to make these decisions themselves, and they've seen it and gone, don't like it, I want to stop now.
Yeah, and that's a hugely powerful lesson for them in their futures, about taking responsibility, about saying, actually, this doesn't feel good, so I'm going to take
Mm.
responsibility for my feelings and my behavior, and say, it's not that they haven't got phones, Lucy, is it? It's that they've
No.
given up their smartphones. They've gone for
Yeah.
a Nokia brick.
Yes, they have their burner
So
phone, as they've told me.
yeah, their burner phone, absolutely. So they're now totally untraceable. Fantastic.
Exactly.
And I love the bit in your talk talking about Owen when she's trying to send you text messages going, Mom, it'll only be short because I've got to press S 4 times to get to. Well, can you remember the days when we used to do that? We all survived perfectly well with
Yes,
those,
we
a
have
little
RSI from pressing
3310
those
brick.
buttons.
We've probably all got arthritis yet now, but there you go.
And now
So
we're
yeah, I think
navigating with Tom, my youngest, we're navigating the phone, and he's asking questions like, "Well, how do you use an emoji? Yeah, you probably don't. How do you put it on busy? No, you don't. You just put it on silent.
yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, okay, I don't understand this. How do I program the number in? You've got to use the numbers to put it in.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I think my biggest message to any parents out there is, take a long hard look in the mirror at your own digital usage,
Mm.
and go on a joint journey with your family into how you can manage it better, because you will get much better results if your young people see that actually you've admitted you've got a problem as well, and that you're going to join them on the journey.
I think that's absolutely great advice. I think so, Owen. We've got Simplify Your Digital Life, which has been created as through Owen's experiences, and that gives an opportunity for people to do that audit, to do that assessment, to have a journal. It's a free download. It's available on icaw-cic.com. So you can just go to icool-cic.com and you'll find a free download place to click there somewhere with Simplify Your Digital Life. And it's about taking the things out that you don't want and you don't feel that are helping you, but you can still keep stuff. You can still keep tech in your life. You don't have to get rid of your Switch. You can still play Animal Crossing. It's there.
Absolutely. And that is very important for many people, as I know.
Yes. Okay. Well, my last question was, what do you think we can do to make a change and support young people in the digital world? Now, we've kind of answered it. However, if we put a bit of spin on it and something we mentioned earlier about what next, what could we do? What could we do together, or what could we do with other people to make this change for young people in a digital world?
I think it's about, can we get in front of either the young people themselves, whether that's through talks in schools or whether that's through talks to out of school clubs or things that we just organise and parents bring their young people to. It's about getting in front of people and starting this conversation and saying,
Yeah.
actually, you don't have to view it as the demon, but let's have a chat about how you can be healthier in your mindset towards digital, in your ability to manage your emotions, because the one thing that teenagers struggle with is that their brain is developing and their emotional regulation goes out of the window, which
Yep.
is why social media, which tech and everything, is so much more addictive to them at this age
Yeah.
than it is at any other age. So it's about starting these conversations. It's helping parents understand what's going on in my child's brain at this point, where are they in the development, and then how does that reflect into what's happening. So I think that would be a great thing, would just to get out into the community and start sharing, the vast amount of knowledge and support that we can offer.
I think that's a brilliant idea. You've sparked off loads of seeds in my head about how we could do that and what we can do to make that happen. Just before we finish then, just round up, tell me and tell other people how they can get in touch with you and how they can find you.
Super. Well, my website's there.
Say it out loud though, just in
So
case
yes,
somebody's listening
go
online.
and visit vickyhenderson.com. On there, you'll find everything you need to know about me and what I'm doing. You'll find my recent blog about developing digital emotional intelligence, and you'll find a contact form. And there's loads of different ways of getting in touch with me. You can WhatsApp me, you can send me a little message, and let's start a conversation. And I will be back in touch with you, as soon as you've sent your information through to me.
I think that's, I'm waiting for the floodgates to open, because as soon as we tell parents about you, that you're going to be full. All right. You're just going to
This
be.
sounds amazing.
Yeah. And I think the idea of getting in front of more young people, I think we need to maybe come together with a few other people and see what we can do about that and see how we can make that happen to make a bigger impact. Amazing. Thank you. We're literally hitting the time frame that I was expecting. So I am going to wrap things up. I'm going to say thank you so much, Vicky, for coming to join me today and having a chat. You can find out more information on icaw-cic.com. That's Inclusive Change at Work, -cic.com. We've been working with Digital Safety. That's ds-cic.com. All around digital wellbeing for young people. And this is the fallout and the impact that we've had from the Castle Conference down in Bristol. Thank you for listening. Get in touch. Subscribe. You'll find us on Spotify, YouTube, and our websites. I'm just going to stop talking for now and say goodbye. Thank you. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you very much.